Just 72 hours after the reveal of the SF-26, Lewis Hamilton is already the center of a global media storm. His first lap at Fiorano ended not with the checkered flag, but with the new Ferrari buried in the gravel. This result matches the fears of the tifosi and the predictions of critics. On Tuesday, January 27, 2026, the Formula One world woke up to leaked footage from Ferrari's private Fiorano test track, showing the brand new Project 678 Challenger spinning out of control at Turn 7. The anticipation for Hamilton's move to Maranello has built for 2 years, following the announcement in 2024. Now that he is finally in the red suit, the reality is hitting hard. We are just weeks away from the season opener, and the new 2026 regulations have completely reset the grid, with lighter chassis and the active aerodynamics system. Ferrari boss Fred Vasseur promised an aggressive design to challenge for the title immediately. Yet we have images of a tow truck hauling the SF-26 back to the garage under a heavy tarp. Social media has divided into two camps. One side argues that the 41-year-old champion has lost his edge, while the other claims this crash was a calculated risk to test the limits of the new X-Mode active wings before real racing begins. The car suffered damage to its complex floor and front wing assembly, and the team has gone into lockdown by canceling the planned media briefing. This silence fuels rumors about whether the car is unstable, if the active aero is dangerous, or if Lewis simply made a rookie error on his first day. The leaked 12-second video clip tells a chaotic story. You can see the SF-26 approaching the braking zone for the hairpin at nearly 280 kilometers per hour. This is where the new 2026 active aero should switch from low-drag X mode to high-downforce Z mode instantly. Instead of the rear wing flaps snapping up to provide grip, the car behaves erratically, and the rear end snaps loose, violently. Hamilton corrects once, then twice, but physics takes over as the car rotates 180 degrees and slides backward into the gravel trap. It misses the barriers, but the violent transition from asphalt to gravel clearly shreds the delicate underfloor. Rather than a slow spin, this was a high-speed loss of control, suggesting a disconnect between the driver and the machine's computer systems. Sources near the track report that the engine cut out immediately, leaving Hamilton stranded in the cockpit for a full minute before climbing out. Critics immediately pointed fingers at the driver, arguing that the 41-year-old Lewis Hamilton lacks the reflexes for these new cars. He spent his career driving vehicles with stable aerodynamics at McLaren and Mercedes, but the 2026 generation cars have a twitchy, computer-controlled nature. Pundits on Italian radio questioned the massive investment Ferrari made, noting that Charles Leclerc completed his 10-lap shakedown earlier in the morning without error. They questioned why Leclerc didn't crash if the car was truly the problem. This narrative suggests that Hamilton pushed too hard and too soon to prove his status on the grid. The pressure on him is immense as he fights for an 8th title and works to prove he made the right choice leaving Mercedes. A spin on day one, at a track he knows well from simulator work, feeds the critics who say he should have retired in 2025. If you want to stay informed on every development in this 2026 season, make sure you hit subscribe and ring the bell. We track every update, so you don't have to. We now turn to the perspective offered by the team. Insiders at Maranello present a different view of the incident in the gravel trap, arguing it was a stress test rather than an error. The 2026 regulations rely heavily on active aero, where wings open and close automatically to reduce drag, a system that is dangerous if it fails mid-corner. Technical analysts suggest Hamilton deliberately pushed the activation point of the X mode to the absolute latest millisecond to find out exactly when the system gives up. Testing the limits requires crossing them occasionally. By forcing the car to fail now on a private track, he prevents a catastrophic failure in Bahrain next month. This theory posits that Hamilton is the only driver brave enough to wreck a prototype to get the data Ferrari needs. Mercedes engineers often spoke about Lewis's ability to expose simulation flaws by doing things the computer thought were impossible. He may be doing the same thing here, by forcing the SF-26 into a scenario that confused its logic. Understanding the crash requires looking at the technology. The 2026 cars are smaller and lighter than the heavy ground effect cars of 2025, relying on movable wings on both the front and rear. When a driver hits the brakes, the wings must snap into a high downforce position instantly. Even a 10-millisecond delay leaves the car with zero grip. The footage of Hamilton's spin suggests the rear wing stuck in the open, low-drag position while he was trying to brake. Such a malfunction represents a severe safety hazard rather than a driver error. Several teams, including Red Bull and McLaren, voiced concerns about this exact scenario during winter meetings, warning the FIA that sensors could be confused by bumps. Fiorano is an old-school track with plenty of bumps, and if the sensors kept the wing open, Hamilton was a passenger. This incident proves those fears were justified and serves as a wake-up call for the entire grid. Fred Vasseur's reaction was more telling than any press release. While team principals usually downplay shakedown crashes as minor, Vasseur stormed from the pit wall to the engineering truck immediately after the incident and ignored camera crews. This tension suggests damage beyond just a broken front wing, specifically concerning the gearbox and floor. Under the new budget cap rules for 2026, teams have limited spares, so wrecking a floor spec this early sets back development by weeks. Ferrari planned to ship this car to Barcelona for the official group test in 3 days, but the mechanics now face a 48-hour effort to rebuild the rear end. Missing the first day of Barcelona testing would increase media pressure on Hamilton significantly. Vasseur knows this, and his silence acts as a shield to protect his star driver from negative headlines. Rumors spread swiftly online following the incident. Within minutes, a blurry photo surfaced on a forum, claiming to show the SF-26's steering wheel display with a red error code, Aero Filed Sin, R. If genuine, this image indicates a system failure and vindicates Hamilton. Fans have rallied around this image with the hashtag #FixedItForLewis, implying Ferrari provided a faulty car. Meanwhile, rivals are watching closely, with a Mercedes source reportedly noting that Ferrari missed the operating window for the active aero. Every other team is now double-checking their own code, worried that their drivers might encounter the same issue. The crash is trending on tech blogs and general news sites because it involves the world's most famous driver in a high-profile car. The image of the red Ferrari spinning in the gravel is difficult to ignore. Attention now turns to the Barcelona test starting later this week, where focus will center on the Ferrari garage. Questions remain about whether Hamilton will go back out immediately or hesitate. The mental aspect is critical. If he hesitates at turn 1 in Barcelona, critics will respond. But if he breaks the lap record, this Fiorano crash will become the moment he mastered the new car. The team must choose between dialing back the aggressive aero settings for safety or maintaining them to chase performance. Vasseur stated they wanted to be aggressive with Project 678, and while the car is fast, it is also difficult to control. They have roughly 72 hours to fix the software bug or reinforce the wing actuators to avoid a repeat accident on a public stage in Spain. This accident changes the narrative for the 2026 season start and challenges the idea that the new regulations would offer a smooth transition. Viewers may face a chaotic year where machines influence race outcomes as much as drivers. If active aero systems are fragile across the grid, the sport could see more crashes in safety cars. For Hamilton, the stakes are high after putting his reputation on the line to join Ferrari. He needs a functional car, as a flawed SF-26 could end his dream of an 8th title. However, discovering this problem in January rather than March could determine the championship outcome. This crash forced the team to confront a reality that simulation data missed. In that sense, the accident served as a critical safety intervention rather than just a setback. History remembers titles rather than testing crashes, but only if Ferrari can turn this data into a solution. The SF-26 has revealed its instability, and we wait to see if Hamilton can control it. If you want to follow this development day by day, make sure you're subscribed. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next update.